All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So, what I'm going to call this podcast is, or I should say, I'm not positive what I'm going to call it, but basically what I'm going to ask is, did you ever look at your body and ask yourself, where did it go wrong? And I think a lot of people go through this because I talk to a lot of people regarding this when it comes to people's body and how they perceive themselves. And what I'm going to touch base on this podcast is something that I've seen over the years, many, many years. I'd say the last decade more than ever. And that's kind of working inside the retail industry, but not in retail. I don't know if that makes sense. If you know anything about me, I've done over the last 10 years, I visit thousands and thousands of stores throughout North America. And one of the areas that I'm in, probably not the most, but an area that I'm in a lot is the dressing room area. And that goes for, regardless what type of store it is. If you know anything about retail, one of the most visited areas, especially if it's clothing, obviously, is going to be the dressing room area. So they really, it takes a toll on the store because there's so much action in those areas. Obviously, you've probably seen that if you were shopping as well. There's usually lines there, people constantly going in and out of them trying different clothes on. And me spending probably at this point thousands of hours in those areas. Either I have to do virtual tours, I've taken photos there, we've rehabbed them, I've helped with people that were putting wallpaper, painting them, new doors, many different things regarding dressing rooms. And the one thing I realized being in these dressing rooms, men and women, is the way they feel about themselves a lot of times when actually seeing themselves in a dressing room. Full mirror and all. I mean, obviously I'm not in the room with them, but I can hear them. And I've seen a lot of craziness. And I've seen women, I should say more than men, get very upset in dressing rooms when it comes to their body. I've seen them break down crying. I've seen women literally run out of there. I've seen arguments with husband, wives, girlfriends, friends, not guys as much. I can't say guys go in for the most part, try their stuff on and leave. But for the most part, I'm usually deal with a lot of stores that are a lot more women driven. I guess you could say the brands revolve a lot more around women. And, I see this even with a lot of women that work in the stores as well, trying clothes on. It could be a lot of times I have to come in when they're closing. So there may be discounts and things, or new inventory comes in, and these women who work there, sometimes guys want to try on this stuff. And I worked actually in retail at Neiman's for a while as well, which I love that company. And again, I see a lot of, women getting very upset with the size they are, with the weight they've gained, the weight they haven't lost. And I'm here to tell you, I get it. Here's the deal though. If you are somebody who was going through this, and believe me, I kind of went through this myself. I got really, really heavy, and I'm kind of sick of talking about myself on my podcast. But I had the flip side of it. No matter how big I got, I felt small, which is ridiculous. So I didn't have that. But if you are somebody who literally just keeps looking at yourself in the mirror and says, what the hell happened here? And sometimes it's very interesting because I always talk about how mirrors lie. I talk a lot about that in my book, Wingman, and how photos, in my opinion, do not. Because I think after time, we just get used to seeing ourselves in the mirror. People lie too. They tell you look great, right? You may not look that great, just telling you. With a photo, it exposes exactly, for the most part, how you look. And a lot of people be like in film and television, because I made films, it adds 10 pounds or it does this. The reality is, basically when you get a photo, it's who you are. To a certain point, especially if you sit down and you see photos of yourself. I talk a lot of times, people don't realize what they look like sitting down or standing in certain positions or sitting down in certain positions as well. That's what you look like. And for some reason, a lot of us are just naive. And I don't know why we almost convince ourselves. And like I said earlier, I convinced myself I was always something I wasn't, which was a lot smaller than I was. I wasn't that small. But a lot of people also, when they're gaining weight or becoming more and more obese, convince themselves they're a lot smaller or think they're a lot smaller. Or they don't care necessarily at that point in time, but then for some reason as time goes on, somebody may say something to them about their weight, or again, they may be in a dressing room. They don't realize they jumped up 4 sizes. They may be in a dressing room and see themselves lit a certain way. That's the one thing about dressing rooms that I find very interesting. You go into some of them, man, the lighting is brutal on some of them. And some of them you go in, the lighting's very good, I guess you could say, to make you look a lot better. But a lot of times I'll tell you, go to try on certain clothes in certain stores and the lights are hitting you and it is showing every goddamn flaw you have. Again, full mirror. And a lot of people, they may have full mirrors in their homes. They don't necessarily always use them. Or they'll use them when they're dressed and then come and look at themselves. But they're usually not always looking at themselves naked in a full-length mirror. When you go to a dressing room, or just with your underwear on or whatever, when you go to a dressing room, a lot of times you just see yourself. You also see the behind, it has different, mirrors that are set up where you could see the front, the side, and behind you, and all of a sudden the impact hits you. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, for one, you're not alone. Okay? I'm going to tell you, a lot of people are not happy with their body. I don't care if you're a fitness nut, that you're in incredible shape, all the way down to the person who's very heavy and overweight, not feeling good. And everything in between. I'm telling you right now, dealing with your body, for the most part, for a lot of people, is hard. And I also think, depending on what age you are, too, it may hit you at a certain point. Because a lot of times, when you're 20 or 30, you may gain weight or lose weight, whatever. When you start to get 30, 40, maybe even 50s, your body is changing unbelievably. And a lot of times it's not changing into what you want it to change into, or isn't what it once was, I should say. That's something you're going to have to deal with in life. It's just the way it is. If you do want to change it, that's really on you. No one can do anything for your body, except a doctor, obviously, surgery or something in that nature, with the exception of you. No one's going to be able to run for you. Nobody can go work out for you. Nobody could diet for you. No one can get the proper amount of rest. I talk about it all the time. It's really all on you. But I will say this if you're younger, because a lot of my age demographic is 18 to 35. If you don't want to look like shit in the future, or what you consider shit, whatever that is, or you don't want to gain a lot of weight, start prepping your body right now. Get it to where you want it to be. The quicker you get it there and sustain it and hold it, in my opinion, the better off you're going to be. I'm just telling you right now. If you keep thinking, as time goes on, you gain a little, weight here, a little weight here, 5 pounds every year. After 35 years old, before you know it, you put on a quick, few years, 15, 20 pounds. I'll knock that weight off. You keep going. You never knock that weight off. You keep going. Before you know it, you're a certain age, and it's very hard to lose the weight. Not only that, you stretched your skin. Not only that, you probably may have not been working out at all. You kind of let yourself go. Then you think all of a sudden, now I'm going to get in shape, and all these things are going to happen, which is wonderful. I think you should do whatever you want to do as quickly as possible. But to make things a little easier on your body, why even let it get that far? I did that. I destroyed my body. I got very heavy, very strong. What was interesting is a lot of people thought I was in incredible shape. The reality was I wasn't. I may have looked jacked, big, and strong. Internally, not too good. I'm telling you right now. A lot of times people think they look a certain way, that they're extremely healthy. Like you may be looking at a professional bodybuilder, for instance, or it could be a wrestler or some type of athlete to a certain degree. They're in good shape, as you know, a lot of times one way. Maybe it could be strength. Then all of a sudden you hear they had a heart attack and died, right? Or they had a stroke, or they had the other health issues as they aged, because they weren't nearly as healthy as they thought they were, maybe, or they neglected their health, or they didn't realize what was going to lead, to what the lifestyle they were living. What was that going to lead to in the future, their health? So I just want to do a podcast on this, because I just think a lot of us kind of bullshit ourselves, and don't do it. I'm just telling you right now, don't wait to walk in the damn dressing room one day, look at yourself, and totally freak out, because it may not happen either, but I think it happens. And I do think too, I do feel sorry a lot of times for women, after they have children, especially 1, 2, maybe more, 3, 4. It's not easy to stay in good shape. It's hard, because not only do you have to take care of yourself, you may have your kids, you may have a household, you may have a job in between. You have all these other things, but you got to take care of your health, man. Without your health, you're nothing. And I just want to do a podcast on this. You got any questions or comments, let me know. But don't don't sell yourself short, and don't lie to yourself is what I should really say. And just please try to take care of yourself the best you can. Again, I talk about this. That does not mean you have to have a perfect body or a extremely low, fat content. Just try to do the best you can with what you have, is what I should say. All right? Take care. If you have any questions or comments, let me know.